gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Grothman, is recognized.
There we are. That was kind of exciting in the background there.
Yeah.
Mr. Tenaglia, we're going to ask you a couple of questions here. Understanding that procuring in the sole source environment is difficult and can lead to exploitation, have you or anyone else made efforts to instruct contracting officers to actively look for parts that could meet the requirements that are similar to those produced by sole source providers?
Yes, Congressman, that's part of the market research that's undertaken across the department for commercial items. In this particular instance, we're talking about national stock items that the Defense Logistics Agency is responding to the requirements of the military departments. Most of those parts are specified, whether there's an alternate source or alternate part, that's part of the calculus. But in most cases, there is one particular part, and in many of these cases, one particular manufacturer for the part that's available. That's a function of the dynamics of the market, where only one provider is making that particular item. And if that's the case, and then we're into the scenario that we're talking about today, negotiating on a sole source basis.
Are there any efforts to increase competition in the spare parts space? Can you think of anything we could do?
Well, the reverse engineering is a good example. I want to downplay how the extent to which we can use that across the board for every part. We really can't. Each one of those requires the engineering analysis behind it. But ultimately, what we do there is we have the technical data package that we can compete the spare parts once we go through that process.
When procuring an original system, do you consider if any of the parts are sole source? Is that a factor?
We certainly do. At the very beginning of any weapon system life cycle, we generally do enjoy competition. It's once you get into the sustainment environment, as was described earlier in this hearing, competition is more challenging because companies that have developed these products at the outset have that intellectual property, and then it's up to the department to either identify alternate sources or reverse engineer in the examples that we've talked about.
Okay, Mr. Hawley, Mr. Stein, I'll ask you a question. Would you say that much of your business with the government is in the aftermarket sustainment space?
6% of our business today is directly to the government.
Okay. When bidding with an original equipment manufacturer for the original system procurement, do you analyze the potential for aftermarket contracts?
We don't. We look at, can we develop and design a part that makes sense? Can we meet the design criteria that the OEM is requiring? And then it's a competitive process. There are many companies involved in bidding. Only one is down selected, and that's a decision made by the OEM, not by us. And that's the nature of these highly engineered, extremely low volume parts that you end up selling to the DoD.
Is it encouraged that your subsidiaries find contracts that will have larger aftermarket potential?
Well, aftermarket is an important part of our business. We want highly engineered products, and many of those happen to have aftermarket content. So it's not that we're exclusively looking for those. What we don't want are commodities. We want to invest in engineering, new product development. That's what we get excited about, and that's part of our business model.
Okay. Can you explain the difference between a proprietary part and one for which you are the sole source?
Well, a proprietary part simply means that you developed it. So here, let me hold you examples. Here I have in front of me, and hopefully you can see them, I have a Boeing 737 actuator and a B-1 bomber actuator. They're the same. You can't tell them the difference in them. The fact that we developed the 737 actuator on our own dime and can transfer that development and technology to the B-1 bomber means that, and we sell this at a lower price. We give the government a discount to what we charge every other airline in the world. And I have lots of examples. That's an actuator. These are pitot tubes. Pitot tubes are what measure airspeed. This is a military, this is a commercial. They're identical. There's no difference in those. This is what we provide. When we show that there's a commercial part and we're selling you this commercial part in whatever package you want it, and we're giving it to you at a discount. There is no gouging or overcharging.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from